Hi there, and welcome to Mom Coach Wife. Today is Mompreneur Monday, and we are meeting Julie of Pop Fizz Designs. I had such an amazing time talking to her about her design company as well as her brand new toy company, Barnacle Toys. So, if you are new to this channel, make sure that you subscribe. Every single Monday, there is a new mompreneur sharing her experiences as an entrepreneur, mother, maybe spouse, hobbyist, whatever they may be. They're sharing their stories with you to inspire you to be more than just a mom. And on Wednesdays, we talk about accountability, day to day mom life, womanhood, and so much more. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications. For now, let's meet Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi, how's it going?
Great. How are you doing today?
Very good, very good. It's
Good.
my daughter's 100th day of school, so it was a big celebration today.
Ooh, 100 days in.
Yes.
So are they staying home or?
No, they're back.
Oh, they're back. They're in the school.
Yes, all of my kids are in school. We're in Florida, so it's pretty relaxed around here.
Oh, okay. Nice. Well, that's good. It's probably quiet there. I'm jealous.
Yeah. Knock on wood that we keep like 110 days too. So we've been quarantined once, so we had to come home for 2 weeks, but other than that, we've been in the classroom.
Oh, well, that's good. Most of the people that I've talked to so far are doing homeschooling, right, with the virtual learning and everything at home. So
For me, we did it for 2 weeks, and I was like, oh,
that was it. That's so awesome.
so yeah.
It's kind of scary too, but awesome that you only have to do it for 2 weeks.
I think if you're the first few weeks, you're like, is this? I just assumed we'd come home immediately, and we didn't. And now we've been going for 100 days. That I'm like, oh, we've got this. We're gonna make it till the end of the year.
Sweet. Well, congratulations to your entire school district for being able to do that.
Yes.
So, what I'd like you to do, Julie, is just kind of introduce yourself and tell us what it is that makes you more than just a mom.
So my name's Julie Samuel. I'm an e-commerce seller, and I started Pop Fizz Designs about 3 years ago. And that's mainly focused on kind of wedding supplies, bachelorette, bridesmaid gifts. And then during the coronavirus, obviously, weddings died a very quick death in March, which actually in hindsight's been a good thing for us because I was kind of able to switch focus. And I just launched Barnacle Toys, which is an e-commerce business focused on kids' educational toys. Because I did homeschool last year when March, like we all came home, I was like, oh, well, I might as well be designing stuff for my kids now. But yeah, so I've been an e-commerce online seller for about 3 years now. And it started small, but we've grown now to having 2 brands, and hopefully it will keep continuing.
Well, congratulations on having now 2 e-commerce brands to work with. That's amazing. And yeah, COVID has brought a lot of people some really unforeseen wins, I've been learning.
It's the COVID pivot. That's like, it was you like came March and were like, and then you were like, okay, I gotta refocus, and what am I gonna do?
Right. And that's the thing that I've seen with so many moms is that we've been so resilient to COVID. It's like, okay, it happened. I can't fix it, but we can reroute ourselves a little bit. So I think that's so amazing that we're able to do that as moms and as women in general, to just be like,
adapt to change.
Me. Exactly. Adaptable. So now tell us a little bit about your family structure. How many children do you have? What are their like age groups, and married, single, dating, dogs, pets, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we have 3 girls. 3 under 5. I have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2.5-year-old. So it's a little bit crazy around here. My 5-year-old just discovered makeup and is like, someone got her like a caboodle, like decked out with like kids stuff for their birthday. And now I'll like randomly come into a room and I'll see them with like crazy blue eyeshadow. So there's a lot of girls in the house. And then I'm married, and so my husband has 4 girls in the house, and me and my husband are actually business partners. We do everything together. So he helps. We truly are like, he's like my little stand, because he equally pitches in. Like right now, he's out there watching the kids. So it's like, Hugh, I've got a call. So he's great. We're business partners, and then we're like life partners, and he's amazing with the girls. He like loves kids. He wants a 4th one. I'm like, no more.
He's shooting for the boy.
He is shooting for the boy. And I was like, now the boy would be such like an outsider.
Well, no, he'd probably just like maybe cling to dad a bit. Right.
You know, but the girls are in like t-ball. They're like in all of the sports. So he can have his little girls to like teach sports to and stuff. So
and he just might end up with a 4th girl too.
Exactly. I was like, we make girls at this point. That's it. So yeah, it's like a full house. And we work from home, so we're always here. And you know, for us, one thing that we do is just like make sure we are always able to like pick up and drop off our kids each day to like talk about their days. Like, I don't know, just really spend some quality time with them.
Nice. Well, I love that you guys are really so close that you're able to work together regularly.
Literally, people are like, do you guys spend 24 hours a day? I was like, yeah, pretty much all day together.
Which is good, because again, another thing, like going back to COVID, that happened with a lot of people was like they had to spend time with that person that they were married to, dating, whatever, and they hadn't really been spending time because they were each working different things, and that woke a lot of people up to.
Yeah, it was like a make or break. COVID was like relationships, either like there was some breakups, and I've had a few friends get like divorced during this time, and then there's been people who were like, I've had friends who were like, oh, that COVID saved our marriage. Like, this like brought us closer together.
I think it kind of like depends on like what stage they were at, like pre-COVID, but like it, whatever it was, it definitely shined a light on it once they had to sit next to each other. 24 hours. So did you always envision yourself as being a mother, or was this just something that kind of shocked you later?
I probably always wanted kids. I think if you would have asked my friends, I would have been the last person to have kids. But I was actually the first of my friends to have children. So,
wow.
So yeah, I don't think people would have said, oh, she screams mom. I think if you would have asked any of my friends, would she own her own business? They would have all said yes. Like I was definitely more of like a little hustler, like always entrepreneurial. But you know, I think like if I didn't have my kids, like I don't know if I would be an entrepreneur, because having my first kid is what started me into being like, oh, I want to run my own thing where I have flexibility and I can be at home rather than going to this like miserable 9-to-5 job.
Right. Because honestly, that's one of the hardest things that we don't really talk about a lot as moms, is when you have to go back to work. Right. What? So if you're a working mom and you didn't work from home prior to having a kid, then you have that adjustment period of going back to work. And for some people, it's totally fine. But for other moms, it's like that can be really difficult to say, I'm going to walk away from this baby that, first of all, I just grew for 9 months. Then I spent 2 months on maternity leave taking care of it. And now I'm just going to go back like everything's normal. That can be really difficult, especially if you work crazy hours. I actually had a job that I worked literally for 3 days because it just like the hours were like ridiculous. And I just felt like I was never seeing my child.
I think like, for me personally, I enjoy working. Like, I don't think I could be a full-time stay-at-home mom, but I couldn't work a 9 to 5 where the job was so unfulfilling that you hated going, like I dreaded going to the office. Whereas now I like what I do. I have flexibility. Like I can go to every single one of my daughter's practices and, you know, sports games or whatever it is. And I have a fulfilling business, like to show them I'm slight feminist. So for me, it's like having 3 daughters. I'm like, okay, watch, your mommy's like running a business. They'll always come up to me like, Mommy, are you selling this? And I'm like, oh, Mommy's designing that right now. And hopefully we'll sell it soon. Like they're fully aware that like I create stuff, you know, like,
and that's
I want
so important.
Yeah,
That's
I
so
want
important. Be a slight feminist, that's fine, because
Yeah.
we really are that example for our kids, and we have to be there to show them that they don't have to just be a mom. Like if they want to run a business, if they want a 9 to 5, or if they want to just be a stay-at-home mom, like whatever it is that they want to do, like they have that capability to do it. And I know, like being a girl mom myself, I absolutely love seeing my daughter mimic me. Like yesterday we were at her grandmother's house and she has a toy phone, and so she picks it up and she's like, have you been to any open houses? And she's like mimicking what I'd say to people on the phone all the time. So, you know, it's beautiful to see our children like reflecting that. And honestly, like I wouldn't want to do this in any other way. I wouldn't want to be away from her and her not see this, because where's the example?
Yeah. You know, I always said, like, when I was in maternity leave and I was like, I was going back and I was like, you know, the problem with like being a stay-at-home mom is that it comes with being like the house manager, cook, cleaner, that portion of it, which like I'm horrible at, I don't like. And I was like, I don't mind spending time with the kids. It's like, I don't like having to do all of this other stuff.
Right.
It was like, I'd much rather like work and then be able to hang out with my kids during my free time. Like it's a good balance for me.
Yeah, I think I'd go insane if I was like personally, if I was a stay-at-home mom. I don't think my brain functions in that way.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, no, I think some people can handle it. I just don't have the patience. Like it's not my thing, but having my own business gives me the perfect, I can dip in, I can dip out. My husband doesn't like it when I say this, but I get to play dad a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's true, because that's typically what, like, as far as society today, what we see as the dad role is like they go to work, they come in, they play, they're the fun parent because they come and they play, because the stay-at-home mom's been home all day, she's frustrated a lot of the times from balancing home stuff and the kids, and so it's not as fun. So I
like praise stay-at-home moms. I'm like, wow, if you can do it, more power to you. But it's like I just don't have the right mindset for it.
Yeah, it's an insane amount of like patience.
Yes.
And just like patience is probably like the biggest thing. And
it's selflessness. Like,
yeah,
I'm way too ambitious and like motivated, like, oh, I got to do this in my life. Whereas like when you give up your career and all of that stuff, you're like, oh, I'm really giving it all up to help my children become the best they can be. Right. There's a book I read where it was like, if that fulfills you, great. But if you need more than that, that's fine too. And do whatever makes you fulfilled, because that's going to make your children the best they can be.
Exactly.
So like whatever fills your cup up. And if that's staying at home and that fills your cup up, then you're going to be the best mom for your kids. If that doesn't fill your cup up all the way, you need to make sure you find something that fills your cup up, and then that's going to make you the best mom for your kids.
Exactly. And that's what I talk about all the time, is knowing what it is that is your values in life. Because like you and I, we're talking about like how being a stay-at-home mom just doesn't work for us. But just like how you said earlier, you were always a hustler. I've always been the same way. Like I've had a lemonade stand as a little kid, a little locker full of candy that I sold.
Always like, Mom, can I have a lemonade stand this weekend? I was like, we did it one time and now they're like obsessed. Lemonade stand so we can go to the ice cream store. I'm like, okay.
But see, like I've always been really goal driven. So for me, that's not my thing. But I know a lot of moms who they're like, I don't want to work because I want to be this type of mom. And you have to know the woman that you are, the mom that you want to be, and really like dive into that. And fulfillment comes in so many different ways. Like everyone's different. I know this series, everyone's gonna see so many moms who have like the goals and are ambitious, and that's kind of the point of this particular series is Mompreneur Mondays. But
Yeah.
the goal, the deeper goal behind that is to say like, hey, you can be more than just a mom. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, like you can still carve out time for yourself, for your own self-care, for your own development, and that part is important too.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so tell me, who is your greatest inspiration? They can be living, dead, celebrity, family, doesn't matter, just the person that you would think has inspired you the most throughout your years.
So I don't know. So when I grew up, my dad was an entrepreneur. He owned his own hardware business. And I think like just growing up with that mentality in my household, I always thought to myself, oh, I want to run my own business. Like it was never a question. And my husband, who also is entrepreneurial, but didn't grow up in that kind of household, really like made a conscious choice to do it. Whereas I feel like it was like ingrained in me, like, oh, I'm going to run my own business one day. I just didn't know what that business was going to be. And definitely I had a few failures to get to where we are today. Like, and I think with my husband and me, it's like a good team. Whereas like sometimes I was doing these like, this week I'm going to do this, or this week I'm going to do that. And he kind of focuses my like, let's do
all
it.
Your great ideas.
Yeah. So I would say like just probably my dad in a sense of like entrepreneurial, I watched him do it. And so as a result, it was like second nature to me. It wasn't scary. It wasn't risky. It was just like, oh, that's what people do.
Exactly. And again, that goes into our messaging of being an example for your children. Your dad was your example of what an entrepreneur looks like, and he made it look good enough for you to be like, that's what I'm going to do one day. Maybe not a hardware store, but
you know,
own my own business.
Call out my mother too, because she's going to watch this and be like, well, what about me?
Mom, you're still loved too.
Yeah. And my mom was excellent about like always pushing us and making sure like we were organized and smart and had everything, all of the tools we needed to one day be successful. So like my mom was a stay-at-home mom and a huge proponent of education and like a work ethic and all of the things. So without her, you know, I got to give credit to credit due.
Takes both of them.
Exactly. It takes a team.
It definitely does. And that's so amazing that she continued to push you guys, because unfortunately not everyone gets that push from early stages to say like you can go out there and you can reach your goals, and that's so empowering and so powerful. So yes, Mom, you're awesome too. And that's what this show is about.
Trained teacher, so I feel like for her it was like, these are my two little students and let's make them.
Definitely more power to her, because being a teacher is I appreciate teachers so much more thanks to COVID.
Yes, definitely.
So much more. I didn't really put much thought into it before.
Are your kids home?
Well, I have one. I just have my daughter. She's 3. She is home.
So yeah, she's not. The preschools are close to there.
Right. So we actually thought we were going to be homeschool parents, and we still might, but I'm just learning that like I don't have the patience to be like a full-time teacher.
Yes. You know, how we started the second brand was because I, in March, started homeschooling the kids, and I was like, I would wake up in the morning and set up mommy's school, and I'd be like, my husband would take them for a walk, and I would set up all of the stations. There'd be 3 stations each day. I'd be like, I'm going to homeschool. We've got this. And then like 20 minutes into it, they'd be like, ah, and I'd be like, wait, we set up all these stations. They have a sport station and a math station and a reading station. And it just never went according to plan. And I was like, oh, you listen to your teachers. and you don't listen to me. And
Right.
I was like, so I really was like, I gave it my best effort, the homeschool. And then I was just like, oh, my kids need someone else teaching them besides me.
And my daughter's doing okay with me teaching her. But I know there's something specifically with me because at first I thought like she just wasn't getting it. So right now, where I'm like teaching her, mainly we're focusing on reading right now. And it was like I would spell the to her. Like it's a 3-letter word, right? And thinking like, you've got this, you're smart. You know your ABCs is like one, you're good. You got it. And then she'd be like, oh, I don't know what that is. I'm like, we just spelled it like 5 times and you told me what it was. And so one day I called my mom and I'm telling her in front of my daughter, they're like, hey, she's like not getting it. I don't know how you did it with me, but she's just not getting it. And we go read a storybook and she reads it almost flawlessly.
Yeah, they're
And
like looking at that.
yeah, and I'm thinking like when grandma wasn't on the phone, you didn't know like half of these words. So
Uh,
it's definitely like her thing apparently with me where she's like acting as if she doesn't know things that she does know.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
I just
remind me because I'm going to send you. We just launched our first product for the toy company. It's called Lunchbox Letters, and it's like a phonics. So also to incorporate my mother, she's been a reading teacher, or she's like has her master's in like reading curriculum, and so she would be the person that if your child wasn't reading on grade level, she would pull you out and teach kids to get to grade level. So she's helped me develop this Toyland line of products, which is all teaching your kids to read because I have a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. And it would be perfect. Like it's just magnetic letters and these phonic sheets that you complete. And I'll send you one so you can play with that.
yeah,
your daughter can play with it.
yeah, I'm like I'm like at a loss for words sometimes with her and her education stuff. Like we have like ABC Mouse and different little learning apps and stuff. And sometimes she's really, really good about it. And then other times she's just like, I'd rather play with my toys.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's part of it too. Like there's no toys well, there are toys at preschool, but like there's rules to it in a different way than there are at home. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah. Well, that's why I basically created the toy brand, because I was like, oh, I'm sitting here playing with my kids and I'm like, oh, I like this about that toy. I like this one. I don't like that. Oh, I wish we could make it like this. And I'm like, wait, I know how to design stuff. That's like what I'm doing for my wedding business anyway. I'm like, I might as well design toys that I can play with them.
Right. Make learning fun.
Yes, so it's super fun. And we have a few like math games coming out right now, because my daughter is learning addition. And so I've just been like developing addition games recently to like help her practice and stuff. So, but I'll send you some reading games so you can try them out.
Cool. Speaking of addition, I don't know if you guys have Netflix. Most people do, so I just always assume that people have Netflix. But if you have Netflix, there's a show called like Number Blocks.
Yes, we watched during quarantine. We watched Alpha Blocks, Number Blocks, all of the Wildcrats. Yeah, we
okay.
all of the show.
Yeah, my daughter was like obsessed with Number Blocks for a while, and I was totally okay with it. I was like, this show is great because she was into it, you know, like when I'm trying to do it, she's like, I just want to go play with my toys. But then when she was watching it, she was like completely into it. And I randomly asked her one day, like, I was just going through, I'm like, what's 1 + 2? And she was doing all the 1 pluses. So I just it's like, what's 2 + 2? 4. I was like, yes, Number Block for the win.
Sometimes, like, obviously during the coronavirus, I was like, what educational shows can I watch? And it's like, at least if I was going to sit them in front of a TV for a few hours, I was like, okay, it's educational. But like, there's some great ones out there, like the Alpha Blocks, Number Blocks. I did Super Y, Wally Kazan. Like, they definitely all help with the kids learning their like letter sounds and reading and stuff.
Yeah, because they think they're just having fun, but we know that they're learning something.
At night, I like use it as a reward. I'm like, if you guys take your bath, brush your teeth, get in your pajamas, like we can watch a short show, and it's like normally in Alpha Blocks because they're like 5 minutes and you're done.
I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
So I try to get as many bribes as possible.
When in doubt, bribe.
Yeah. Toddlerism, I mean, you just have to have to figure out new ways to get through it.
Yeah. Coronavirus, like we introduced gummies, and now I feel like it's like, who wants a gummy?
Mm-hmm. That's how I did her vitamins. She thought they were
Oh,
basically candy. So, like,
yeah. My daughter just started like a probiotic. Her doctor was like, oh, she needs to start taking a probiotic. And I got them in gummy form. And now she'll like run, like, Mommy, I didn't get my medicine. I'm like, okay.
oh, that was Brooklyn with vitamins. It's like, oh, where's it's time for vitamins. She'd bring them to me and like,
Yes.
hey, you forgot to give these to me. Thanks.
Please have my sugar gummy. Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the fact that you design things for a living, and I think you mentioned your business name already. I know what it is, but I just want you to tell everyone what your business name is and or what they are, because there's two of them now, and how you came up with the names.
So Pop Fizz Designs was our original business. And that kind of got started because we wanted to start e-commerce and we had kind of just gotten married and there was like, I'm just naturally a cheap human being. I just hate, I'm not cheap in a sense, like I can't buy anything. It's just that I don't want to get ripped off.
Right.
When you're getting married, you're like, wait, I'm paying this crazy wedding tax on everything because it's like
Yes.
bride or wedding. And I'm like, let's eliminate the wedding tax. So we started Pop Fizz Designs to kind of create affordable bridesmaid gifts and bachelorette party supplies. We have grown and expanded to like kids' birthday parties now that we have more kids and gender reveals and stuff. We kind of got Pop Fizz Designs and we just started like a huge board of like celebration names. And I think like Pop Fizz was kind of like, you know, you're opening the
champagne bottle.
The champagne bottle. And then Barnacle Toys, which is our new brand, like our COVID pivot. We still run Pop Fizz Designs. It's weddings are actually picking back up now, but you know, in 2020, we were like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
And so with the toy brand, originally it was called, it's actually like a long story, but I had started when I first had my first baby, I had started a company called Little Learner Kits. And it was about, my mom would come over and she was a trained teacher and she would always just come over and like do these like cool things with my kids and they love it. And I was like, you know, being trained is like she's like had kids of her own, but also being trained as a teacher, she knew what was like developmentally appropriate for the kids.
Right.
So I started Little Learner Kits, which didn't take off and it was like a slight disaster. It was like a subscription kit with activities in it. And when I had that, I had come up with a slogan, a smarter way to play, which I really liked. And so when I created this new toy brand, I was like, oh, I really want to use a smarter way to play. And it was originally going to be called Beacon Toys, but we couldn't get the trademark for that. It was going to be Beacon Toys, a brighter way to play. And so we had to change the name and there was a park near my house called the Barnacle. And so then we called it Barnacle Toys. So yeah, the Barnacle Toys was like kind of a evolution.
Yeah.
It started as Little Learner Kits, a smarter way to play, and now it's Barnacle Toys, a smarter way to play.
Nice. So you had some transition there of trying to figure out, you know, first of all, what the actual items were going to end up being and what you were going to call the business.
Yeah, and it was like a huge learning thing. Like the weddings gave me like all of the background on how to manufacture products, how to market products, how to drive traffic to a website. And I didn't really have that in the beginning when I started Little Learner Kits. So, you know, sometimes me and my husband are like, you know, one day we should give that another go. Because I still think it's a good idea, like kids getting, like parents getting like a little how-to for the next 3 months. Like here's activities you can do with them. Here's what's developmentally appropriate. But when I started out, I was like literally like printing out individual cards and laminating them. And I was like,
just a lot of
every
work.
box I sold, I was losing money.
Yeah, that sounds like a whole lot of work to do
Yeah.
for one person. So what do you think was your biggest learning curve and like maybe your biggest lesson from everything that's happened between the two businesses? I mean, especially with you having a business that was for weddings and then COVID hitting, you having to learn how to create these products to be affordable without really ripping yourself off in the process
Yeah.
of it. What do you think was that lesson?
I think I'm probably in the heart of it. So now trying to scale the business, most everything we do is me and my husband. We do have one person uh, that works with us for customer service. And she's like another mom. It works out perfect because I knew her. She's like a stay-at-home mom who wanted to do a little work, but flexible hours. So she's our customer service agent. And because I knew her and had a relationship with her, it's much easier. And she kind of has a little like, she's like, oh, I want their business to be successful. But I think the next step in our business is trying to hire someone and kind of outsourcing some of the elements of the business. Um, and one thing I'm horrible at is I'm not a good manager, and I'm trying to learn that. I'm like a slight control freak, and I have expectations that sometimes aren't realistic. So just understanding how to manage people better and how to get, we're all going in the same direction, because it's just not sustainable for me and my husband to do everything for both businesses now. Like,
Right.
we're going to have to hire someone at some point. And for us, I think that's probably our greatest hurdle, is like learning to manage, bring on and let go a little bit when it's kind of been our baby, like our fourth baby for so long. It's kind of 2021 is the year where like we have to bring someone on and help. Otherwise, like stuff's falling, like stuff will fall through the cracks. And uh,
Yeah. It is really difficult to even like right now I'm a one woman show. I mean, my husband helps out a whole lot with especially like watching our daughter when I'm doing things like this. And even giving me pointers as he watches my videos. So he's definitely like right there helping me, but I can only imagine like how difficult it is to take what's essentially your baby and then tell somebody else go raise it. um, One thing that I wanted to suggest, and this is to anyone who may be this way as well, I am actually currently reading this book, but I worked for a company that was incorporating the plan that's in the book. It's called Get a Grip. It's literally right here.
oh,
I'm
gonna write it
literally
down.
currently reading it right now. So it's this book. It's called Get a Grip, and it's a whole like entrepreneurial system, and it's about like management and growth and whatnot. And the reason, although I don't have employees, but the reason why I picked it up is because one day I do want to have a network of essentially mothers that are running this. And I know I'm the same way. Like, I'm like, this is mine. I want it done this way. And I've seen where I like bumped heads even with my husband and me being bullheaded about how I want things to be done. So I know it's going to happen to someone who doesn't love me. so, so yeah, I think that it's really good that you know already that like you have this control in you. And a part of it is just that you have a vision and you know how you want to see it out, but you just and it can be hard to trust.
That's the struggle.
Yeah, but I know the struggle and I know like you're supposed to trust other people. That's the whole point of starting a business, is to grow it and to get in other people to kind of do the work, and then you can pull back some,
Yeah.
but the trust part is hard.
I would definitely get the book because I've taken to like multitasking in the evening, and I got an Apple Watch for Christmas, and I'm like, I have to have 10,000 steps by the end of each day. But that sometimes leads to me walking an hour. Like after I put the kids to bed, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just go walk till I hit 10,000 steps. But I listen to like audiobooks,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm like trying to listen to like, kind of management.
Self-help kind of, yeah.
It's perfect.
I know that it was really helpful for the company that I was working for prior to going full-time entrepreneurial. But that's part of why I'm like reading it for myself, because they made a complete pivot. The owner was looking at stepping away from her business a bit, but she still had a lot of things that she really wanted to see through, and this was helping her really trust a team that she's had for years. Like, it wasn't like a new team or anything. She had the team for years, but going through this program like helped her to be able to trust them. And she was in a lot of ways just like you, where she's like, I see these things a specific way, and so wanting to step away but still wanting to be full-time, and it just wasn't working, and that helped them out a lot.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely going to get it. And like also finding people who would complement our skill sets. Like, I'm really comfortable in sitting like looking at designs and looking at like, oh, what colors do I want to pick? And like, we do like a lot of fabrics. So it's like, oh, I like this fabric with this lining and this printing technique. And I enjoy doing that stuff where it's like, I look at Google Analytics and I'm like, oh, I got to link this like Facebook pixel to my Shopify store. And I'm like, everybody's changing. Like Facebook's like, you now need to relink your shopping account. I'm like that kind of stuff. I'm like, I just need to find someone who wants to do that portion of the world.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about being able to hire, is that you don't have to do all the parts of your business that you don't really enjoy. Like that's where we're different. Like the tech part of it, I love tech. I love like learning all the different. It can be frustrating, like for anyone, even if you love it, but it's like it's interesting to me. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is so.
I'm setting our new website up, and I had to like link my Instagram account to Hootsuite today, and it was like my Instagram account wasn't a business account, and then I had to like change. I was like spend like an hour and a half trying to link like Barnacle Toys Instagram to Hootsuite so I could like start scheduling posts. I was like, oh, that's like an hour and a half I'll never get back. Enjoy. And I like just kept running into technical issues. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Whereas when you hire someone and they know how to do that, that hour and a half for them would be like 20 minutes.
Like 15 minutes. Yeah, I know. So that's where I'm like starting to get to. I'm like, okay, if I can find like experts that are better at doing these things than me, it's like almost to become more efficient, and the business could grow that much quicker.
Yeah, what I'm finding a lot of entrepreneurs that I've spoken to are doing is actually hiring other entrepreneurs who are like have a specific niche that they do. So that seems like kind of one of the new things versus like the traditional employee, is having like a bunch of different contractors that do certain things. And it obviously depends on your business. Like if you're going to run like a retail store, you're going to need actual people in it.
Yeah.
But like certain businesses, you can contract out like a lot of the stuff that you don't want to do.
You know what? One of my best friends used to be our writer, and she just she's getting her PhD right now, and was like, I got to write my thesis. I can't write for you anymore. But I just watched one of your episodes with a copywriter, and I was like,
yeah,
oh, maybe I can reach out to that copywriter, because you just need people who are like, I can't write at all. So my friend has been doing it for us for the last 3 years. And now she's like, I got to focus. Maybe in a few months I can come back and help you guys out again. But I was like, okay.
Yeah. A copywriter would save me a lot of time, but I'm still clenched up to just be, to just be me. But yeah, like there's so many amazing ways to get extra jobs done, especially with all the different contractors out there.
Yeah.
So, we already actually talked about COVID and the impact. I usually don't get to it until we're talking a little bit more about the business. But now that we're in 2021, and obviously you're not watching this, everyone, until May, but we're actually speaking in February. So tell me, what are some of your goals for the year?
Obviously, my dream world, everyone would be vaccinated in time for wedding season, because our main selling season is kind of June, July, and August. And last year there was basically no wedding season. Obviously some people still got married, but it wasn't, it
wasn't traditional.
Yeah. So I hope obviously in 2021 that our Pop Fizz Designs, our original business, can kind of return to its, prior glory. But also probably my bigger like baby at the moment is this Barnacle Toys, because it's so linked to like my kids, and I've kind of not outgrown, like I still really like designing wedding stuff. It's fun. It's like a happy time in everybody's life. And it's like a very good creative outlet for me. Um, but Barnacle Toys, I really have a vision of like, okay, I've broken down toys into kind of literacy, math, science, and arts, and kind of making sure I have a product catalog for each of those segments by the end of the year is my goal in my head. So I have broken it out with like, okay, I've got to design, a game of month basically, and go from there.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your heart is really into Barnacle Toys right now. And I mean, part of it probably is because right now the weddings aren't really a big thing. Like, a lot of stuff is so many things are virtual, and I don't know how that affects like you with it in the design world, because I'm going, my wedding wasn't that long ago, but we've been thinking about my own personal wedding, and we did a destination because of the wedding tax, which we were talking about. I couldn't imagine spending that much for food in a hall when if I was doing a gender reveal party or a shower of some sort, it would have been like half of that cost.
It's crazy.
So I just didn't like that idea. And my husband already wanted to be like on a beach, so it just made sense. But yeah, and when I'm thinking about all the different things that were like the design aspects of it, a lot of that was because there were people there,
Yeah, well, a lot of our main products, like our best sellers prior to COVID, we do like funny bachelorette sashes. So we have a lot of copycats now too, which is kind of something you have to overcome. But we design like Maid of Dishonor sashes, Shot Queen, like Bootylicious, like all of these funny sayings on sashes. And we have like different themes. So like we have Nashville sashes and Fiesta sashes and nautical sashes. So those were kind of some of our best sellers, those and fanny packs, which
fanny packs, really?
Yeah. And I love a good fanny pack. So I was like happy for them to be coming back. But yeah, now it's like, well, people aren't going. We had like a whole line of products for like bachelorette cruises. Like the chances of bachelorette cruises happening in 2021 is like slim.
Nah. The last thing I remember about a cruise was them being quarantined on their way back in.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like a bunch of our bestsellers just, they don't make sense, but we did pivot. Like we now have wedding hand sanitizer that we sell, which luckily we had actually looked at doing prior to COVID. So we actually had it all lined up prior to COVID.
Oh, nice.
And then it was like, oh yeah, we're ready to pull the trigger. Here's the bottle designs, let's do it. And they were like, now the lead time is 6 months. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, that changed.
Yeah, there's only so many FDA approved factories. So like, and once COVID hit, it was like, they were shooting out like gallons of the stuff rather than like, I sell like mini favors. And they were like, those aren't our priority at the moment. I was like, okay, understood.
We had to make sure all these big facilities that have to stay open have hand sanitizer.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it was like so you do pivot. We have changed our product lineup some, and some of our products that weren't huge hits before are like, we sell like bath bomb proposal cards, which are super cute. And so it's something that can be sent in the mail.
Is it like inside the bath bomb?
Yeah, hold on 1 second. I'll show you.
That sounds cute.
So yeah, sorry for that. They're like little like cards that have like a little bath bomb in them.
Oh, I thought so. So that this makes sense where my mind was. I used to make bath bombs, and I remember like people like putting things inside of them. So I thought it was like fortune cookie style, and it was gonna be like the husband gives her the bath bomb, and then it opens up and it's the like, will you marry me thing on the inside.
That's a good product idea.
Yeah, that's cute. So it's like a little self-care gift and let's spend the rest of our life together.
Yes, that would be cute. No, that's not what I sell, but maybe coming soon.
Feel free to
Um,
steal that idea. I don't want to make bath bombs anymore.
yeah, no, they're just like cards you send in the mail to ask people to be your bridesmaids. And so those have kind of picked up. So it's like changed, like life is still going on. Obviously, would I preferred COVID not to happen? Yes.
Yeah.
But it's here, and I think you just have to kind of make the most of it. And I think a lot of good's going to come out of it. Like I said, like I wouldn't have been doing Barnacle Toys. I would have just kept in my wedding swim lane for a very long time, because it's been working, and like, why change?
Right.
But with COVID, I was like, wait, I'm sitting here. I might as well design products that me and my kids can use together. Because a lot of my time is spent on like product development, like making a sample, trying it out. Oh, okay, what will I change about it? Let me have a new sample, make this. Like,
Right.
there's not a lot of iterations before a product actually goes on our website for sale.
Yeah. And the cool thing, like, I know, to touch back on something you said earlier about like COVID, and I know we've been talking about adaptability a lot in this episode, but it's just like in a business, right? You can't really go into business and stay in your comfort zone. And COVID just basically made the whole world uncomfortable. And so you're either going to drown in it, or you have to like make the best out of it. So I think that that's kind of the beauty. And it's like, hey, yeah, we may have all been comfortable doing what we were accustomed to every single day. And now it's like, you better change it because COVID is here. And if you don't change it, it's going to be really rough.
It came to me like February, like almost a year later. But if you had seen me in March, I was like having full blown panic attacks. I was like,
yeah. And I mean, obviously, like, we're, like you said, we're saying this almost 12 months after we've been shut down. I know when it first happened, I was thinking like, oh, this is annoying. I don't keep up with the news personally. That's my husband's job. Like, I always tell him how we balance each other out, because the things that I don't do, he does. The things that he doesn't do, I do, right? And so he's all into the news. So I didn't even know what COVID was until I got a call, like, we got to close the office. I'm like, for what? Because at the time I was working. I was still working a 9 to 5 at that time. And so I'm thinking like, okay, we'll close for like a month, and then
like,
they'll figure out whatever it is. I mean, because I'm still thinking like flu level, like, well, the flu's been around forever. We don't quarantine because of the flu. So in my head, I'm like, nothing's going to happen. And I don't think I ever like had the full blown panic, but I was definitely like delusional about what COVID was really going to do to the nation, and even to my own personal life. I was just thinking like, I'll be back to work in like a month, no big deal.
We had our sales numbers literally like almost go to zero overnight. And then not only that, but everyone returned all their products.
Yeah, because they were canceling their weddings.
Yeah, so they were canceling all these events. So it was like, even everything we had sold in the last 3 weeks, it was like, okay, whatever, no, everybody was returning their stuff. And returns, like, obviously, I think every small business person knows this, but like, people accept returns because you stand by your products and whatnot. But like,
right.
You lose so much money on a return because you're paying for like return shipping, and like the shipping is a huge element of it. So it was like, oh yeah, not only do you like lose money on every product that gets returned, so you're like, okay, great.
And then with COVID, it's like you can't even resell it.
Yeah.
Like
the inventory has been like a crazy learning curve during COVID, because you're like, oh, obviously we didn't sell anything last season, so the amount of inventory we have is more than we need.
Yeah, so, I can only imagine. But I know, like you said, returns are literally the most painful part of a small business, especially starting out, because for one, the whole goal is to actually sell whatever stuff it is that you've created or that you're marketing. So then you lose whatever profit you just made off of the product because it's coming back to you. And like you said, you've got return shipping. Then you have to try to, in some cases, resell it, and you still have the loss of the return shipping. And now COVID's come in to say, hey, you can't resell it because it's a safety issue, and now you're either throwing things away or spending more money to sanitize everything so that you can eventually either use it yourself or resell it. So
Yeah, prior to COVID, like returns happened, but they were such a marginal part of your business. But that first week of COVID, it was like so significant, and like we were like, oh, this is not fun. But it's definitely coming back. Like obviously, this January is much better than where we were last March, and hopefully 2021. Like I said, June, July, and August. I'm like, my mom's been vaccinated now. I'm kind of like, the longer it goes on, the more people I know who have been vaccinated. And I just think in a few months, we'll all, if you want to have access to a vaccine, I think in a few months by June, you will have access to a vaccine.
Yeah, I know they're struggling a little bit right now with like making sure there's enough of them, but from what I understand, there's like more companies that are working to produce them now, because at first we only had 2. So I think there's like 3 out now.
Well, I think also even today, Johnson & Johnson just submitted their like emergency.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, because I just heard about them.
Yeah. Yes. And then they're like, oh, we'll bring on 200 million doses before June. And I was like, perfect.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely gonna spread, and hopefully it will actually slow down the spread of it. And the only thing that's still in the air is like all these different mutations, and so that's kind of creepy. And I'm like, COVID, you can stop being extra now and mutating, and just let this pass.
Have had it and haven't had it. So like, I feel like we still haven't yet to have it, although we've had close contact with people. And I'm like, oh, like now everyone we hang out with has had it. And it's like, okay, you guys are safe. You guys are safe. We're like the only like risky ones.
Yeah, I only know one person that's had it like multiple times. Everyone else seems to like get it, and then get over it, and be done. But yeah, I know one person who's had it 3 times. And I'm like, ooh, okay. Now, granted, they're not the cleanest person, but but yeah, they've had it 3 times.
You may have to edit that part out.
No, it's fine. They don't know that I know that they had it 3 times.
Okay.
And I don't think they watch my channel either.
Okay.
So we're fine.
Okay, good.
Until I get that text like, why'd you out me?
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, like most people that I've heard to have it, like they get it and they're done, and then they don't have any issues beyond
luckily, that. Knock on wood, we haven't had anyone have it severely around us yet. So, hopefully long live that continue.
Yeah. So I have a mommy question for you that is probably something that most people want to know about if they're thinking about starting a business, or if they're just trying to get into hobbies or something like that. How do you manage with mom guilt? You've got 3 little girls. I know you've got support of your husband, obviously, but mom guilt is just one of those things that I'm going to be honest with you. If you tell me you've never had it, I'm not going to believe you, even if it's true. But it's just one of those things that I feel like every mom's experienced at some point.
Yeah, so definitely used to have it really bad in the beginning. Now I have it less. In the beginning, obviously, you're like, there's just so many iterations. You know what it is? I think moms always are like, is this action the best action I can be taking for my kid? Right? Like, by me working, sometimes I have one of my good friends is a stay-at-home mom, and her kid's like so smart and like reading and doing all of the things. And I'm like, oh, her mom works with her every day. And like,
right.
I do like the basic homework calendar. And I do, now that I have the games, I do sometimes more, but I'm like, okay, maybe I should be at home more with the kids than when I'm working. But yeah, I have it less now because I think my kids are also like, my 5-year-old's pretty independent. Like she's like an artist for sure. Like she's going to do something in the art world, or hopefully, like I always like tell my husband, I'm like, she's going to design stuff one day. And like, that's going to be her jam, because she'll sit on an art table. I have like an art table with like, you give kids glue and glitter And I'll tell you this much. They're like happy, entertained. They don't actually want to hang out with you. It's like,
Yeah.
mom, glue or glitter. It's like glue and glitter will win most of the time. Um, so yeah, I think my kids are happy. So I'm less guilty. I think it definitely was more in the beginning when I was like high stress, because now we've been doing it for 3 years. So it's definitely more established. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be able to pay my bills and feed my family. Whereas
Right.
in the beginning, it was like a side hustle. I was still working, doing this in the evenings. It was like definitely more, I'm trying to grow it to the point where I can quit my day job.
Right.
Once I quit my day job, I definitely felt like I've done all that hard work so I can be there for my kids when they need me. And that doesn't mean I'm with them 9 to 5 every day, but now that I have created that flexibility, I'm like, oh wait, I'm pick them up from school every day. I take them to all of their practices. Like, mom guilt was when I was in that growing phase and I wasn't there for them for everything. Like, I was always stressed out. I remember I started kind of doing real estate. That was like my first vision of what I was going to do as like my side project to not have to go back to 9 to 5. And I was like reading the real estate book with like my child in like a baby carrier on the desk. And I was like telling my in-laws, I was like, well, she doesn't know what she's reading. It doesn't matter if it's like a children's book or my real estate textbook.
Right.
So those were probably the moments I felt guilty, when I was in like my growth phase. And I was like, if I don't accomplish this, I'll never be able to have the flexibility I want. But now that I do have a business and that I have the flexibility of like, my daughter really wants me to go do something with her, 8 out of 10 times I'll go do it with her.
Right.
So I have less mom guilt. So I would say this for inspiration for anybody who's like having serious mom guilt and is in like the hustle phase where they're like ignoring their kids a little bit more than they probably want to. I feel like if you're doing that with like an end goal in mind, that if you reach that goal, you'll end up having the kind of balance and flexibility that you've been looking for and that you've like worked for, you know?
Right. 100%. I totally agree with you there, Julie. When you're in grind mode, that's probably when mom guilt is gonna be the highest. And you touched on one thing early in your statement about it, is looking at other moms. It's like probably one of the worst things we can do as moms is look at what someone else's kid is doing for several reasons. Like you said, that mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she's spending all this extra time. And like we talked about earlier, neither one of us have the patience to be that kind of a teacher.
And she's a stay-at-home mom who's a trained teacher. So I feel like that's like the
Great
combo of like, oh, you're going to produce smart kids who are like always going to be the top of your class. And more, I'm like, more power. I'm like, can my daughter come over to your house for a play date? Because I know really good stuff with her.
And then the other thing too is to realize that all of our kids are going to be different. So like while that kid might be doing math and reading and all those kinds of things, another kid could be very artistic and very creative in a different way, or they may understand language in a different way. So the thing, just like us adults, we're all different in so many ways. Even when we have similarities, we have so many differences, and we're intelligent in different ways. And that's important to understand with your kids too. So don't feel bad because in the statistics that society shows, your kid might be here while another kid's here. You're not being a bad mom.
Yeah, that's why I remind myself of that. I'm like, my kid's gonna be fine. Like, I am grateful to have been born and like live in America. Like, my husband's British, and we go back to Europe a lot, and Europe's great, nothing, but I just feel like our kids do have like a lot of opportunity here that you don't get other places. And if you work hard and you hustle and you like always are doing something, more often than not those people get ahead in life. And it's like, I don't know, I think our kids are going to see that this is what we do, and like take risks and you can do this. Like, I don't know. I just feel like grateful that they're like have opportunity and, you know,
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I agree with you. And I'm even glad that this is the time that my daughter is being raised as a Black woman in America and
Yeah.
seeing so many different things that are changing. And again, shout out to COVID, because I think COVID, when everyone was sitting down, it opened up a lot of eyes to a lot of different things that were going on. And so for me, I'm so happy that she's here and she's able to see so many different changes happening that technically I really didn't see. Like the 90s didn't, I mean, no offense to the 90s, I love the 90s, but I don't remember like a whole lot of change happening in that time. So I think that this is a really beautiful time for her to be alive and to learn and to see different things. So yeah, and the
I just feel
opportunities
like our
here are just
society is
so
getting
different.
better, and like definitely for minorities, like way more. I personally feel it as like a woman. I'm like, I still find it astounding. Like we still haven't had a female president. I'm like, wait, we're so
Yeah,
there. I'm sure you feel that like triply as like a Black woman. You're like, wait, this. Like,
yeah.
I just feel like our kids are going to be that generation that have way more visibility than like our world did.
Oh, 100%. Like now I just got I don't know, yeah, they are next to me. I have all this. I told you my desk is a mess. So there's like so much stuff you don't see on camera. So
Oh,
we just got like these cute little things for like all of the alphabet, and they're all different, like African Americans, for her to learn like their names and different things about them. And there's like stuff like that. I don't remember getting that in, and I'm not even 30 yet. Like I'll be 30 this year, but I'm not even 30 yet, and I don't remember having those kinds of like activities available to me growing up.
yeah.
Like
It's
nobody.
definitely more, people are more cognizant of it. Like I grew up in South Florida, which is predominantly minorities, mostly Hispanic. Like I just grew up in a school that I was like, oh, this is how the whole world is. Uh, but then you realize very quickly, you're like, oh, wait, no, this is
Yeah.
not how everything is. And now where I live in Florida is like definitely like small town. Again, I'm like, oh yeah, South Florida is way more diverse, and like
100%.
everything was available to you. You can travel and be like every kind of food, every kind of people, every language, like all of the languages.
Yeah.
Which I do feel like is extremely, one of my best friends is getting her PhD in like teaching diversity and the value that has on everyone.
Mm-hmm.
For like the thing, that's her PhD, is like, you know, teaching global mindset, and not just even on a domestic level, on like a understanding we're like such a small portion of the world.
Yeah.
And
And I
like,
think that's so cool. And part of it is the internet and how much it's grown. It's so vast now. And
yeah,
then people actually opening up and having conversations. Like I've seen so many more. That sounds crazy, but I've seen so many conversations, more so than I did in the past, about different issues and people actually opening up. Now, not everyone's been like open-minded and having the conversations, but
yeah.
when I'm seeing more and more of this, like I do have a lot of hope for like the future and what's going to happen and what she's going to grow up in, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm following this one teacher, and every day I'll send you her link when I find it. She posts like a Black History children's book that she posts, and it's like she's like, even as a Black woman, she didn't know some of these events had
yeah,
happened. Like, just was so kind of washed away from our history as like kids.
I
Uh,
experienced that reading my daughter. I think it was Little Leaders, and I was like, I never heard of this person before. Like there were women in there that I had never heard of myself, so we were both learning. I didn't
yeah.
know.
When my friend was doing this PhD, you know, a great book, and I recommend everyone to read it. It's called Slavery by Another Name. And it's like an excellent history book. And it's like all about the facts where you're like, oh, wait, this isn't like something that changed in the 1800s. It's like, this
Right.
is something we struggled with like very recently.
Oh yeah.
So it's an excellent book. It like definitely gives you a whole new perspective on like diversity in America, being like a Black woman, especially, but you know, just the how we got to wake up and change it and hope for the best for our kids, really.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that one. I'm working on the Balanced Mom book club, and it might get added to that.
Yes, it's such a good read. Everyone I've told to read it is like, it's like won a Pulitzer Prize. And my friend who's doing her PhD on like diversity and globalization of the classroom, she took a whole course on kind of Black history in how it's taught through the education system and like what's left out.
Like most of it's left out.
Yeah. And so it's fascinating. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
we basically go like, oh, here's slavery. And then it stopped. Everybody was happy.
Right. And that's kind of how it goes. And it's like, oh, we just sprinkle in Martin Luther King over here and
Yeah.
a little bit of Malcolm X, but not too much, and a little Rosa Parks. And then it's like, well, who else is there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
No,
know?
this is an interesting, it's like, and it's very historical. So it's very interesting to read.
And it's Slavery by
By
another name. By another
yeah.
name. Okay. I have this video to edit later, so I'll be notating this. But yeah, that's definitely sounds like a good read and something that's like needed for all people to read.
Yes.
Understand, because our history is American history, and that's one of the things that like I'm seeing more and more people start to understand that it's not just, I mean, it's funny we're talking about this during Black History Month. But it's not just 1 month. It's literally ingrained in American history, and it's pretty cool that more and more things are starting to come out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it also is like, obviously I've lived in a city and I had access to all of that, whereas like you do realize like just how different America is though. And you're like, sometimes you're like, oh, wait, not everybody thinks like this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's the problem. That's the problem.
It's like a double-edged sword. There's beauty to like everyone thinking the same way, and then some in some cases is like
yeah.
So that's you guys' little dose on American and Black history for for May.
Topics to always be having.
Right. So let's get back to your business. Now, obviously, you guys were doing really good before COVID with Pop Fizz Designs.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to know, what is one of your tips to someone who wants to start a e-commerce business, no matter what it's in, you know, just a general tip that you would have for someone who wants to get started?
Start sooner rather than later. I think it's just a matter of doing it. Like, I was always entrepreneurial, and my husband, there's so much free content out there as well that there's like no excuse not to get started. So how we got started was watching like a webinar on YouTube, and it was like 16 parts, and it was like, it literally changed our lives. Like, it's crazy. Like, you can watch a YouTube series, which is free, and it's changed the trajectory of our lives. So I would highly recommend to get started. E-commerce doesn't grow overnight. Like, it's not a get rich quick scheme. But with hard work, and you just keep producing products that people want to buy. I describe it kind of like a franchise. Like, all of these steps are out there, so it doesn't really matter what you're selling as long as there's an audience out there to buy it. But there's all this information on the internet of how to do it, like, you know, setting up a Shopify store, selling on Amazon, selling on Etsy. Like, there's a whole like ecosystem of online selling. And to just kind of pick an avenue, go with it, like learn as much as you can on YouTube, and then just start executing. Like, pick your first product, list your first product, you've got to advertise your first product, and then see where it starts. Like, we started with one product, and now for Pop Fizz Designs, we have almost 200 products in our catalog. Wow. And that didn't happen overnight. That was definitely like 3 years in the making. And now with Barnacle Toys, we have one product. And now that I know what I'm doing, it's definitely growing faster, but I hope to have 12 before the end of the year. So it's just slow and steady. It's not, I always say, like, I make my to-do list of what I want to do for the year, and then I try to break it out into 4-quarter goals. And then every day I just tell myself, I just need to move every product one step today. So like if I'm designing, I'm working on a game right now, like called Carnival Cash. I'm like, okay, what can I do on Carnival Cash today to move it one step closer to being available for sale? And I do that with every product that I'm working on, whether it be like an idea I just had like randomly, while I was taking a walk, or, something that's definitely closer to being available for sale. So it's a system. E-commerce isn't rocket science. It's just, there's so much information out there. I feel like if you're dedicated and you're willing to learn, everyone can do it. It's just about working hard. And there's like so many components. Like I love product development and designing products, and that's like what I enjoy doing, but you almost don't even need to do that. Like there's people out there who don't sell products that have a design element to it, and they're really good at the marketing, Facebook, social media side of it, driving traffic to their website. Like there's so many areas that if you can excel in one of them, you can kind of either outsource the rest or kind of, as long as you're really good at one thing, like the other ones are okay as long as you're just mediocre at them.
Awesome. So there you guys have it. If you're wanting to start an e-commerce business, there's your tip. Just do it. Learn. Learn it. Get started. Just do it. Take it slow. It's not overnight. And honestly, I haven't found a business that is really.
Yes.
There's outliers that have those overnight success stories, but it's very small. So it's not typical that it's overnight. So if you could start your business over from scratch, what would you do differently, if anything?
I would have started it sooner. Sometimes I have these like moments like, oh, if I could have only done that. But I really I'm like a type A personality, and I'm like, okay, I can no longer go backwards. Like that happened, and by that happening, I'm here today. So like minus starting it earlier, which I would have loved to do. I wouldn't change any of the mistakes because they've led us here. I'm also hindsight's 2020. So like in those moments, like I'm also like an anxious person. So those weren't great at the moment, but now that I'm like past them, I'm like, oh, there's so many incidences I've learned, like packaging. I'm like, oh, this packaging is super cute. And then I realized during shipping, UPS like throws your boxes around so they'll dent. And I'm like sitting here like bubble wrapping in containers every night.
Wasn't as practical as it was cute.
Yeah, I definitely would have changed packaging a few times, but without those mistakes, I wouldn't now be super aware of, okay, how is each product packaged? And like, it just becomes more sophisticated every time I have a mistake.
Yeah. And that's kind of the beauty of it. And I agree with you. Like, you can't go back. And honestly, if you did go back and you changed something, you might have missed a lesson.
Yes.
For anyone that's coming up, don't try to use that when I ask you that question. Yeah. If anyone's watching. we're only going to be in May when this goes by, and I want an honest answer. So let's get into some of the balance parts of your personal life. Obviously, you've got 3 little girls, you've got a husband, you have 2 businesses now. What is time for yourself looking like right now?
Since I got my watch, I'm like walking, listening to audiobooks. My husband always tells me I need a hobby. And I'm like, no, my business is my hobby. So I like truly enjoy what I do. it's like, I'm slightly obsessive about it, but I enjoy it. So I definitely walk, and that's fine, but I don't, I'm not a huge fitness buff. I'm not like a huge like partier. I enjoy the business. And for me, like even from as a kid, it's like one big game of Monopoly to me. It's like my life is like Monopoly. I'm like, okay, I'm just permanently playing this game. Like, okay, let me launch new products. Let me, market this better. Or so I guess me time is my business, because at that point I'm not, watching the kids and stuff like that. And then the kid time is like, okay, I shut down my computer and let's go to the park and let's get outside. Let's go to the beach. Um, so, so yeah, I feel like me time is my business time.
And that is the beauty of doing something you love.
Yeah. If you hate your day job, find a way out of it and do something you enjoy.
Yeah. Because I mean, I get it. Like when you're doing something you really like, and I can tell that you really enjoy the design aspect, because technically both of your business are design based, then
Yeah.
it doesn't, you don't have this feeling of like, oh, I need some time to myself because like I just did something that I love so much. Yay. So
Yeah, it's fun.
yeah. What would you name a book that was written about your life?
um, Okay, so I'm also a big traveler pre-COVID in life. I just loved traveling. And I do work hard, and prior to having kids, and I hope one day my kids will be old enough that we can travel with them, but now they're 3 under 5, so it's like traveling's not enjoyable. Um, so, a lot of people have that like phrase, like work hard, play harder. I think
Right.
Is that the phrase? It's like work
Yeah.
hard. So I think mine would be like work hard, travel harder, because a lot of my life I've like worked really intensely for, 2 years, saved up money, and then gone and like backpacked for 6 months. And I did that for a huge chunk of my life prior to having kids. And now that I have kids, we definitely don't travel as much. But once they're older, like me and my husband talk about it all the time. Like, I just want to take my kids traveling.
Work hard, travel harder. I feel like that's like a guide to traveling. Like that's what I feel like.
Well, I feel like everyone has this feeling, but with COVID, I'm like, I just want to go on a trip somewhere.
Yeah. Good momcation.
Yes. And normally my husband's British, so normally every year in the summer we go back to his parents' place in Wales. And we didn't get to do that this year. And then he hasn't seen his family. It's sad. Like he hasn't seen his family for like a year. His brother lives in Australia. Like he's from Europe. It's like, he's really been cut off from his
Do you
life.
guys like Zoom or?
Yeah, we do like a lot of FaceTime and stuff like that, but it's just not the same as like everyone. Yeah. Luckily, right before COVID hit that December, we had all gone back to his parents. So his brother came from Australia and we had come from Florida. So that was the last time we got to see them. And now like COVID, we have gone nowhere. So yeah, I think travel's on my brain. I'm like, where can we go? And my husband was like, maybe we book something now while tickets are super cheap, because what's going to happen is like, everyone's going to get vaccinated. The restrictions are going to get lifted and prices are going to go crazy.
Yeah. Especially because they took such a hit during COVID. Those prices are going to hit people hard.
Yeah, because everyone like cooped up. Everybody's like, I mean, I haven't been on a plane since last December, or like the year prior to last December. I'm like,
2019 December.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm ready. And Florida's like very isolating. So like to even leave the state of Florida, it's like 8 hours. So you're like,
really?
Because it's long. It's long.
Oh, because you guys are in southern Florida. So you got to drive all the way up.
Yeah.
To get to
somewhere. To get anywhere.
You guys boat?
Random. Our neighbor had a free boat a couple of weekends ago, and so we graciously took it off their hands. It's like a little fixer-upper boat, but my husband has fixed it up. and it's now seaworthy. So now next week we will take our neighbor's free boat out on the water for the first time.
Nice. I asked that because my husband's actually like obsessed with boats. So we
Oh,
watch like boating videos all the time. We don't, I mean, well, there's lakes nearby, but because it's Michigan, but we don't live like on the water or anything. So when you said Florida, I'm like, oh, most of the people that we watch live in Florida. Like,
so we're not boaters yet, but now we have this, it's like a 14-foot sailboat. And it had a hole in it when we started. And now the hole's gone. And yeah, me and my husband don't actually sail. We've sailed a little bit, but not like on our own in our own boat. So we're gonna take it out without the kids first to make sure we don't like sink and drown.
like, don't get lost.
Yeah, I mean it's a little river. We live like near
Okay.
like
So you're not like going out on the ocean to go.
no.
Okay, good.
I don't think I could even take this boat out on the ocean. I don't know. It's like a super random, but we may become boaters in our near future.
Yeah, that is not like a typical Mompreneur Monday question, but you said you guys will need to travel and you're in Florida, and that was like the first thing I thought was like, I wonder if she boats.
My vision one day, I used to crew on a sailboat, and my vision one day is to sail around the world.
See, you guys are already starting with the neighbor's free boat.
Exactly.
And so that's you start around the little river that's there.
Yeah.
Before long, you guys will be who are watching boat on YouTube.
Maybe. Maybe. If only you had a picture of the boat.
What do you feel like has been your biggest struggle specifically as a mompreneur?
I probably in that grind phase. I never slept. It was like I was grinding when my child was a baby. So it was like I was working while she was sleeping, and then it was like at night I didn't sleep. So yeah, I think you're kind of have like adrenaline during that phase though. Like you're like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing this, I'm gonna keep doing this. And I would just stay up to like 2, 3 in the morning working, and then like up she got at 7 o'clock, and be like, okay, let's do this.
Dreams keep you going.
Yeah, but now like I'm out like on the other side of the grind hump. I'm like on the plateau where it's like, you know, easier this side of the world. So yeah, that grind period probably was like the hardest zone.
Yeah, but you're technically supposed to sleep when they sleep, so they say.
Yeah, but that's not how like mom business owners.
No.
You want to go, and you're like, I did occasionally, but it would be like, okay, I gotta now work. Like kids are asleep, and even now to this day, like we put our kids to sleep and we work. Like because every afternoon I want to be able to take them to the park for an hour, and it's like I'd much rather sign back onto my computer at like 8:30 in the evening and work for an hour, and then
100%.
I still put in my full day's work.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Julie. Like the best thing is to work when they're sleeping. That's why I get up so early, because it's like I know I can carve out so much of my day now. And even like my bribe to my daughter before we got on this was like, if you take your nap, you and I get to play because I'll be done with my work after this. So yeah, it's just such a beauty to be able to like have your middle of your day available, because that's when they're up and that's when they're, you know.
And when I'm working and they are up, like the mom guilt, I definitely feel mom guilt when my daughter will come in after school and be like, Mom, like, why are you working? Or on the weekends, like, because when you're own boss, like there are really no weekends. And she'll be like, Mom, it's the weekend, close your computer. Like, okay, my little sassy 5-year-old. I gotta do this so we can make money to like, you know, pay for things.
Yeah, so that you can have all the things that you love. So I have one more fun question. And so imagine I was a genie and I was granting you three wishes. The only rule to these three wishes is that you cannot wish for more wishes. Sorry, not sorry. You only get three. What would you wish for and why?
So, probably a house on the water, just because I want to be a boat person. So one day I want to live on the water. Um, but probably I wish for like financial freedom. I feel like as a business owner, I feel like whether you're in a successful period or a down period, you're always slightly on edge. Like, is this gonna last? Is it not gonna last? Like, it's variable. So you lose that with a 9 to 5 job. You're like, oh, I could be having a good year, and then COVID happens, and you're like, ah. So probably like just having a financial moat that like, you know, if the business died tomorrow, I wouldn't have to like, and the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't know if I can still grind anymore. Like hard as I did like back then. So yeah, probably financial freedom. I would still work. Like my husband's like, what would you do? And I was like, I'd still work, but I would do it on my own terms. Like I would work less than I do now for sure. So probably financial freedom, a house on the water, like a dream. We rent at the moment, and I have the worst landlord. He like, oh my God. So every day I like wake up and there's still no mirrors in my bathroom. So I'm like, definitely I want to own my own thing. And then I don't know. I feel like, you know, I don't have tons of complaints. Like those would be my two big things. What would be my third wish?
It can be anything.
Probably
Anything
just
in the world.
keep my health. Like my dad died when I was younger, and I definitely am like, oh, you know, like I just don't want to die young. And I don't like, I just feel like, not that that's always in the back of my head, but I just want to be able to live like long and healthy. Like, you know, my grandmother's 93 and I'm like, please give me her genes. And like, she's totally mentally with it. She's like, hey, da, 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 da. Like, so yeah, probably my health. I guess those are the three basics, right? Like health, money, and like family. I feel like my family is good. Like I love my three kids. My husband and I get along. Like we have like a good setup. So, you know, like me and my husband used to always chat, like when we had like dead end jobs, we'd be like, oh, we've got a good family life, but a shitty career section. And it's like slowly work on your three, you know, worlds. And
so that they all align, come together.
Yes, they all align. So yeah, I probably do health, a financial note, and a house on the water, which would just bring me zen in life.
And then you can park your free boat at your house.
And I can really get the boat on the water all the time because we're like the only minivan in town that has like a hitch on it. And we're like, okay, we're gonna have to try this.
Hey, you might inspire somebody else who has a minivan that wants a boat too. Then they can go and get their hitch. And
maybe getting rid of any more of them though. So his sons, and I don't know. He had gone to college and then moved to Atlanta, and he was like, "I'm not coming back for the boat." Like, I'll take the boat.
I'll keep it, thanks.
Yeah, I'm like so gracious for the boat, but it has been a project since we took it. It was like, oh, now we got to do that. Our other neighbor told us like the happiest day is you get a boat, and the happiest day is the day you get rid of the boat.
Because of all the things that happen. I have no idea how to care for a boat. My father-in-law he has a boat, and I think that's part of why my husband is like so into boating, because he grew up with a boat, and it just seems like a lot. Like he's always at the docks, and I don't know if it's just because he wants to be at the docks all the time, but it just seems like he's always working on the boat.
Yeah, no, that's like been my husband the last like month and a half.
Yeah.
And we're like, I gave him a deadline. I was like, you have 1 month. We have to get the boat on the water. It's not going to just sit in our yard. And we've passed the 1 month mark, but I think it's ready next week.
Nice. But I mean, it is worth it because You can either stand on the sidelines on the beach and watch the water, or you can actually get out on the water. So it's worth it, I think.
But yes,
but then again, like if we get a boat, or I should say when we get a boat, I probably won't be the one working on it. So of course I can say it's worth it, right?
It's always good to have friends with a boat. That's the key.
True. No work, all the perks. So because we are going live, technically today when everyone's watching it, but because we are going live at 8 p.m., I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. And some of the questions that I have left for you, we will cover on our live on Instagram. So I just want you to go ahead and tell everyone where they can connect with you and how they could shop with either one of your businesses.
Yeah, so probably the best way is to just follow us on Instagram at popfizzdesigns.com, or just popfizzdesigns. And then our Instagram for Barnacle Toys is at Barnacle Toys. Literally, I'm launching it this week. So hopefully by the time this airs, we'll have a few more followers than we do today. Or you can visit our website, popfizzdesigns.com, or on our Barnacle Toys, which is also, I'm working on this week, the website. So that should be live by the time this airs, is barnacletoys.com.
Awesome. So you guys make sure that you connect with Julie and Pop Fizz Designs and Barnacle Toys.
And for Barnacle Toys, I'm always, I want to do like a huge Instagram push. So I'm definitely looking to work with other moms who want to try out our products and who like are Instagram influencers. So like, definitely reach out. We're happy to do like collabs with other mom Instagram influencers.
Nice. So it's definitely a good perk if you are looking to learn about some new products and maybe you want to start in your influencing, get started with Barnacle Toys. So make sure you follow.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys follow, support her. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments here, or you can join us live at 8 p.m. and you can ask away then.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you live on Instagram at 8.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.